Min-jun's hand froze on the champagne flute as his eyes locked onto the woman across the Seoul hotel ballroom. 6 months. It had been exactly 6 months since he'd signed those divorce papers, since he'd watched Adaeze walk out of his penthouse with nothing but her dignity and a single suitcase. But the woman he was staring at now, laughing with a group of international investors, didn't look broken. She looked radiant and unmistakably pregnant. His blood ran cold. The glass nearly slipped from his grip as the math crashed through his mind like thunder. 6 months ago, she'd told him she was pregnant. He'd demanded she terminate it. His mother had called it that African mistake. His board of directors had made it clear. A mixed-race heir would complicate his position as CEO of Han Industries. So he'd given Adaeze an ultimatum, the money for the procedure already transferred to her account. She'd looked at him with those warm brown eyes that once made him believe in forever, nodded quietly, and 2 days later she was gone. The divorce was finalized within a month. He'd assumed she'd done it, taken the money, ended the pregnancy, moved back to Nigeria. But here she stood, in a designer navy dress that hugged a very visible baby bump, speaking fluent Korean to some of the most powerful investors in Asia. Her braided hair was styled in an elegant updo, and she wore confidence like armor. This wasn't the heartbroken woman who'd left his life. This was someone new, someone who'd clearly moved on. Mr. Han. His assistant's voice cut through his spiral. The German delegation is asking for you. Min-jun couldn't move, couldn't breathe, because in that moment Adaeze turned her head, and their eyes met across the crowded room. Her smile vanished. Her hand instinctively moved to her belly, protective, defiant. And then she did something that shattered him completely. He turned away, as if he were nothing, as if he were a stranger. "Cancel my meetings," Min-jun heard himself say. "All of them." 3 days of private investigators, blocked phone calls, and sleepless nights led Min-jun to a renovated hanok in Bukshan. Traditional Korean architecture mixed with modern renovations. Expensive, graceful. The nameplate read, Adaeze Okonkwo, international trade consultant. She'd built a life here. Without him. Despite him. When she opened the door, she didn't look surprised. "I wondered how long it would take you to find me." Her voice was calm, measured, nothing like the warm, laughing woman he'd married 3 years ago. "You kept it." The words came out accusatory, harsh. He hated himself for it. "Her," Adaeze corrected, one hand resting on her belly. "I kept her. And before you start making demands, Min-jun, understand something very clearly. You have no rights here. You made your choice 6 months ago. I gave you money for an abortion I never wanted," she interrupted, stepping aside to let him in. "You transferred 200 million won to my account with instructions to handle it. I handled it by investing in myself, building a business, and preparing to raise my daughter alone." The living room was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the traditional rooftops of Seoul. African art mixed with Korean pottery on custom shelves. This wasn't temporary. This was home. "Why didn't you tell me?" Min-jun's voice cracked. "Why let me think?" "Think what?" "That I killed our baby to make your life easier." Adaeze lowered herself carefully onto the sofa, her movements protective. "You made it crystal clear what you wanted, Min-jun. Your mother called me a gold digger who trapped you with pregnancy. Your board questioned my education, my background, my intentions. You stood there silent while they dissected my worth as a human being. Then you asked me to choose between you and our child. It wasn't that simple. It was exactly that simple." Her eyes flashed with the fire he remembered from the woman who'd once challenged him, inspired him, made him believe he could be more than his father's legacy. "So I chose her. And I chose myself." Min-jun sank into the chair across from her, his carefully constructed world crumbling. "My mother told me you went back to Nigeria, that you'd taken the money and left. Your mother doesn't know everything." Adaeze's laugh was bitter. "I stayed because I love Seoul. I have clients here, respect here, a life I built before I ever met you. I wasn't going to let anyone chase me away from my home. Is it mine? The question escaped before he could stop it. The slap came fast and sharp, her palm connecting with his cheek with enough force to snap his head sideways. Get out. Adaeze. Get out. Her voice shook with rage. How dare you? How dare you question me after everything? Min-jun stood slowly, his cheek burning, shame flooding his system. At the door he turned back. She was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face, both hands cradling her belly. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. But she'd already turned away, and the door closed between them with devastating finality. 2 weeks later, Min-jun's world imploded at a board meeting. The presentation on the screen showed Adaeze shaking hands with the CEO of Samsung, finalizing a trade deal worth billions. His company's biggest competitor, the Nigerian consultant, his father's voice dripped with venom, has been systematically courting every client we've approached in the African market. She's undermining us. She's not Nigerian, Min-jun found himself saying. She's Korean resident. And she's the best trade consultant in Asia. The room went silent. His mother, sitting in the corner as a shareholder, stood abruptly. This is about that woman. That pregnancy. Min-jun, I told you she was using you. She was never using me. His voice echoed off the walls. I used her. I married her because she was brilliant and beautiful and made me feel human. Then I threw her away the moment she became inconvenient. You're letting emotions cloud your judgment, his father said coldly. She's carrying a child that would complicate succession. My child. Min-jun stood, yanking off his tie. My daughter. And the only thing complicating my life right now is this room full of people who taught me that profit matters more than people. He walked out of Han Industries' boardroom and didn't look back. The next morning, he woke to his phone exploding with notifications. Someone had leaked a video to the press, security footage from the hotel ballroom, zoomed in on him staring at Adaeze. The caption read, Han Industries CEO stalking ex-wife he forced to abort. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was Adaeze's response, a simple statement to the media. Mr. Han and I are divorced. My pregnancy is not his concern. I wish him well. Classy. Dignified. Destroying him with kindness. His mother showed up at his penthouse that evening, fury in her eyes. Fix this. The stock is dropping. Marry someone appropriate. Show the board you're stable. I don't want someone appropriate, Min-jun said quietly. I want the woman I never should have let go. She's pregnant with another man's child then. It's mine. He said it with absolute certainty now. And even if it wasn't, I'd still want her back. Because she's the only person who ever saw me as Min-jun, not just the Han heir. His mother's expression shifted, something almost like respect flickering across her face. Then you better grovel better than you've ever groveled in your life. Because that woman owes you nothing. Min-jun learned everything about pregnancy he should have known months ago. He read books. He joined online forums. He made a complete fool of himself at a prenatal class for expectant parents, the only man there without a partner. Then he started showing up. Not at Adaeze's home, that would be intrusive. But everywhere else. When she had coffee meetings, he'd be at the next table, working silently on his laptop. When she attended trade conferences, he'd be in the audience, taking notes. He never approached, never spoke, just present. After 3 weeks of this, she finally confronted him outside a business dinner. What are you doing, Min-jun? Learning, he said simply. Learning to be the man you deserved. Learning about pregnancy and parenthood. Learning that the business world didn't collapse when I stopped putting it first. You can't just, she gestured helplessly, hover around my life like a ghost. I know. He pulled out an envelope. That's why I'm giving you this. Inside were papers. Legal documents. She scanned them, her eyes widening. You're signing over half your shares in Han Industries to our daughter? Regardless of whether you ever speak to me again, Min-jun said. His voice steady despite his racing heart. She's my heir. She deserves security, legacy, choice. Everything I almost denied her. This will infuriate your family. They'll survive. He smiled sadly. I'm also stepping down as CEO. I've realized I don't want to build the kind of empire that requires sacrificing the people I love. I want to build something different. Something that would make my daughter proud. Adaeze stared at him, searching his face for lies, for manipulation, for the man who'd broken her heart. Why now? Because the last 6 months without you were the emptiest of my life, he said simply. Because I wake up every day knowing I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me. Because our daughter deserves a father who fights for her, not one who runs from difficult choices. I don't need your money, Min-jun. I know. You never did. He stepped closer, careful not to invade her space. But maybe you need to know that I've changed. That I'm changing. Not for you to take me back, I know I don't deserve that chance. But so that our daughter grows up seeing a father who learned from his worst mistake. For the first time in months, Adaeze's carefully constructed walls cracked. You really hurt me. I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life regretting it. I don't know if I can trust you again. I know. But maybe I can earn the chance to try. She looked down at her belly, then back at him. Our daughter kicks when she hears your voice. From across the room at events. It's like she knows. Min-jun's breath caught. Can I? He stopped, not wanting to presume. Adaeze took his hand and placed it on her belly. Beneath his palm he felt it. Tiny kick. Then another. His daughter. Real. Live. He dropped to his knees, tears streaming down his face. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Adaeze's hand came to rest in his hair. Gentle, forgiving. She needs a name. I was thinking Chidinma. It means God is good in Igbo. It's perfect, he whispered. She's perfect. You're perfect. I'm not taking you back, Adaeze said firmly. But her hand didn't leave his hair. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But you can be her father. If you prove you've changed. I will, Min-jun promised. Every single day, I will prove it. The nursery was a masterpiece of fusion design. Korean traditional screens painted with African patterns. A crib hand-carved by craftsmen from both Seoul and Lagos. Books in English, Korean, and Igbo lined the shelves. Chidinma Minsohana Konkwo slept peacefully in her bassinet, completely unaware that she'd changed everything. Min-jun watched his daughter from the doorway, still unable to believe she was real. 10 fingers. 10 toes. A head full of dark curls and her mother's perfect skin tone. The most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. You're staring again, Adaeze said, coming up beside him with 2 cups of tea. She'd moved into the penthouse 3 months ago, not as his wife, but as his co-parent. Separate rooms. Separate lives. Connected by the tiny human who'd saved them both. I can't help it, Min-jun admitted. I keep thinking about how close I came to never knowing her. But you do know her. Adaeze's hand found his, a gesture that had become more common lately. You know she likes when you sing to her in Korean. You know she only settles when you do that specific bouncing walk. You're a good father, Min-jun. I want to be a good husband too. He turned to her, the words he'd been holding back for months finally breaking free. I know you said not yet. I know I don't deserve it. But Adaeze, I love you. I never stopped. I was just too much of a coward to fight for us. She was quiet for a long moment, watching their daughter sleep. Do you know what changed my mind about letting you back into my life? What? It wasn't the grand gestures. It wasn't the money or the shares or the business sacrifices. She looked at him, her eyes soft. It was the day I saw you at that prenatal class, the only man there alone, taking notes like your life depended on it. It was watching you learn Igbo lullabies on YouTube at 3 a.m. It was seeing you stand up to your mother and tell her that Chidinma's Nigerian heritage was something to celebrate, not hide. Adaeze. I fell in love with you because you were ambitious and driven, she continued. But I fell back in love with you because you learned that ambition means nothing without love. That legacy isn't about corporate empires. It's about raising children who know they're valued for who they are, not what they represent. Min-jun's heart hammered in his chest. Are you saying? I'm saying I want to try again. She smiled, that beautiful smile that had captured him 3 years ago in a Lagos conference room. Slowly, with counseling and communication and actual effort from both of us. But yes, I want our family to be whole. He kissed her then, gentle and reverent, pouring every apology and promise into that single moment. When they pulled apart, Chidinma was awake, watching them with curious dark eyes. I think someone approves, Adaeze laughed. Min-jun picked up his daughter, holding her close. Chidinma, your appa is going to spend every day proving he deserves your yama. And you. Both of you are my world. The baby gurgled, grabbing his finger with surprising strength. She's got my stubbornness, Adaeze observed. And my determination, Min-jun added. The world better watch out. Speaking of the world, Adaeze pulled out her phone. Your mother called. She wants to take Chidinma to the traditional Korean 100-day celebration next week. And I told her only if we also do the Nigerian naming ceremony. Adaeze grinned. She agreed. Even asked me to teach her some Igbo phrases. Min-jun stared at her in shock. My mother. The woman who called you. People can change, Adaeze interrupted gently. You proved that. Maybe she can too. Besides, Chidinma deserves to know both her cultures, both her families. All the messy, complicated, beautiful parts of her heritage. As they stood together in their daughter's nursery, the Seoul skyline glittering beyond the windows, Min-jun understood what he'd almost thrown away. Not just love, not just family, but the chance to build something authentic, something real, something that honored where they'd both come from while creating something entirely new. Thank you, he whispered against Adaeze's hair, for giving me a second chance I didn't deserve. Thank you, she replied, for becoming the man who deserved it. Chidinma yawned, completely unbothered by the profound moment her parents were sharing. Because to her this was normal. Korean father who sang Igbo lullabies. A Nigerian mother who'd made Seoul her home. A family that proved love could bridge any divide, survive any mistake, and grow stronger in the rebuilding. This was just her life. And it was perfect. If you loved Chidinma's story, imagine all the other untold romances waiting to be discovered. Every relationship that defied expectations. Every second chance that rewrote destiny. Every love that refused to be limited by borders, cultures, or past mistakes. Subscribe now and join thousands of viewers who believe in love stories that reflect the real world. Messy, complicated, multicultural, and absolutely beautiful. Hit that subscribe button because next week, we're bringing you the story of a Brazilian dancer who accidentally became engaged to a Japanese Yakuza heir. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. New stories every week. Real emotions. Unforgettable journeys. This is where love knows no boundaries. Subscribe. Comment which cultural romance you want to see next. And remember, the best love stories are the ones that almost never happened.